Jai Gurudev. Last session, we started the chapter 6, referred to as Dhyana Yoga. So we will start, we had covered, I think, the first 9 stanzas. We will start from the 10. But before we start chanting, since it's been a while, we'll just, do a little bit of a rehash of whatever was covered. So to first understand, right, the foundation for dhyana was set up in the previous chapter. The previous chapter itself, which was the 5th chapter, which was the chapter of renunciation while in action. What was the renunciation? That means not getting caught on the results of the action, right? No craving for whatever the results are, whatever comes, taking it as a prasada. That is one of the things we done. And towards the end, he said that for a person to go to the highest level, one has to go through dhyana meditation. And that is where the 6th chapter comes in. So the 6th chapter covers all about meditation. What are the requirements? What are the qualifications? What are the mental requirements? What are the physical requirements? And in some of the earlier verses, a couple of verses, have to be highlighted. One of them said very clearly, you go back and look at it, the 5th verse, that uddare datman and atmanam. If you have to go in this path, you have to uplift yourself. You have to do it yourself. It is a very simple stanza, but a very profound one, which means that, it is our self effort that is going to take us there. All the guidance is given, right? A guru gives guidance, the scriptures give guidance, but ultimately, if I have to step up to realize my own self, it has to be me alone. Of course, along the path, blessings are there, grace is there, but I have to be the one taking the step. That's why he says the person has to lift himself by himself. So lift the consciousness inside by his own effort. The second thing that was a very strong one that was indicated was in the 6th verse, that in yourself, one of the key elements is your own mind. The mind could be your best friend, but it also could be your worst enemy. We have to recognize this. When could it be a friend? If things are all going well, right? You say, wow, great, everything is hunky-dory. Things don't well, you start blaming yourself. You start blaming the decisions you've made. You start blaming things around you. So that mind starts becoming your best friend. So somewhere also along the spiritual path also, there are barriers that come in. There are challenges that come in, right? So we have to realize that the mind will come and play its trick every now and then to tell you what you're doing is right, what you're doing is not right. So how to stay afoot, remembering that I am the one who has to make the decision to be afoot in this path. And then one of the other things that is what there in the 9th stanza, and the 9th stanza will, when I go through it, will rhyme well with what we have actually covered in one of the stanzas in the 5th chapter. So what does the 9th stanza say? The person who's got a similar mindset to be it any kind of a friend, relative, enemy, indifferent, neutral, good-hearted, not so good-hearted. What is it rhyme with? If you look back at the 18th stanza of the 5th chapter, it said a sage or a person who's in the path who looks at a brahmana, a cow, a dog eater, elephant, in a similar manner, doesn't look at one as superior than the other, looks at them, accepts them equally. Such a person is in the right direction. So That is what he's laying the foundation. He's again stating that here because you're talking about meditation. And in meditation, thoughts will come, right? And so, what should be the mindset of that person going into meditation or being, have a good meditative state? Let's put it that way. So, having said that, from the 10th for a few verses, he's going to tell us the physical requirements. Where should you sit, how you should sit. Those of us who are meditating will be able to understand, relate to this. But nevertheless, it's good to understand where Krishna is coming from. So we'll chant this first and then we'll cover them. So starting from the 10th verse. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitah ekakiyata chittatma nirashida parigrahah. 11th one. Shuchau deshe pratishtapya sthiramasanamaatmanah nachuchittam nati nicham चलाज चलाजिनकुशोत्तरम् तत्रैकाग्रं मनः कृत्वा यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रियः उपविश्यासने युञ्जात् योगमात्मविशुद्धये समं कायशिरो ग्रीवं धारयन् न चलं स्थिरः सम्प्रेक्ष्यं नासिकाग्रं स्वं विसश्चानवलोकयन् प्रशन्तात्मा विगतभिः ब्रह्मचारिव्रते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तो युक्त आसीत मत्परः. So here, the first thing that is referred to in the 10th stanza is very important, very simple but important. Keeping the mind steady. But the next thing he says is remaining in solitude. So meditation is not meant to be done. And of course, very senior people, very experienced people can do it in the middle of a noisy crowd or maybe in the middle of people. But for starting people, you do it in a place where you're by yourself. Because the intent in meditation is to go within yourself, not to be bombarded, influenced, carried away by what is happening because of the bombardment of the sense organs from all the external stimuli. So you sit in a noisy place or you're sitting in a kitchen where people are chatting, people are seeing TV, etc. Not at all conducive for meditation. So if you're remaining in solitude, to be alone with both the body and mind, right? So my body is understood. Mind means what? That means a place where you are not, listening to some stimuli coming from outside. So the mind is with yourself. Mind, of course, will stay as you start with the eyes closed. But to start with, at least, be in a place where you're by yourself. Free from hope and greed. That's an important one. Now, you always wonder, what is, there are some words here, let's understand here. First of all, you see here ekaki. The ekaki word very, very clearly it says what ekaki means: yourself, by yourself. The other one, satatam. Satatam means what? Constantly. So he's setting the foundation for these things. Before even you think of meditation, this is not something that you do at your own convenience. Sunday I'm free, 9 to 10 a.m. Maybe I'll do it then. Maybe I'll do it then. That's not how it works. Meditation is something to be done regularly. For that matter, any yogic practice is to be done regularly, which means daily. Regularly means daily for us. So, yunjita satatam satat atmanam rahasi stitaha. So then Ekaki yata chittatma. Yata chittatma. Chitta means what here? We are talking about body control or sense control. Again, this will get built up over time, but we understand, right? That means that, you're in a place where you're not influenced by the senses. You're not sitting close to food plays or music or a TV or some distraction from outside. So to that extent, being prepared is what he's referring to. Nirashi, the parigraha. Nirashi means what? Not having any kind of need. So whenever we look at something, right, in this case also, when we look at meditation, Guruji always refers to this one, the three simple rules about meditation. What is it, right? I want nothing. So there are two others which I'll touch upon a little later, but one of them is I want nothing. That means what? I am not looking for some fruit of action based upon the meditation. It's not, I should be in this state, I should be, blissful, blah, blah, blah. Just simply do it, right? Rest of it is taken care of. So, like any other task, meditation initially is considered effort because you have to do certain things to prepare. But after that, it is effortlessness, not doing anything. So, not doing anything means what? You're not trying to use your mind towards this. You're not concentrating on some on some dot somewhere or face or somebody, etc., etc. You're just dropping everything and remaining being with yourself, right? So so now when this is nidashi, he here is referring to the fact is not to expect anything. Whatever has to happen, you will be blessed. Aparigraha is also about holding something. Greed. I last time I meditated for 10 minutes. Now I should meditate for 15 minutes. I should be in this state. So somewhere, you're putting things into your head. I should get to this level. And and what in all of this is what is happening. Your ego is only building. You're building actually. So that's the key thing. And even in all the spiritual path, if you don't, you're not aware of it, you can be building your own ego because I did meditation. I could sit for 40 minutes, no disturbance, etc., etc. So here he's warning ahead of time. So just do it. Your job is to simply do. Second thing, don't set any expectations for yourself. Whatever has to happen, it will happen. Hmm. Um, so you understand, right? So these are just simple warning signs are being given in the 10th stance. 11th and 12th. So here he talks about first one is how you should sit. Very, the thing to understand Bhagavad Gita, right? It is not, people say it is very conceptual, not, not to be implemented. But if you see some of these verses and if you see some later chapters also, you'll see a lot of practical things, goes down to detail. He's saying clearly here, Shuchau Deshe Pratishtapya, sit in a firm seat. Isn't that very simple? You don't meditate on a bed. You don't meditate in sitting in your nice comfy cushion or something, where your body will never be able to sit straight or you're feeling wobbly. Sit in a firm seat. Isn't that very clear? In a clean spot. Pratishtapa Sthira Masana Matmanaha. A seat should be for yourself and in a clean spot. Just like any yoga practice has to be done in a place where, it is clean. There's no dirt. So the requirements for any yoga is what your body first should be clean. That means you've taken your bath, your dental hygiene, your oral hygiene is all in good shape. And then the place where you're doing it is also congenial for meditation. That means your place is clean. Isn't that it's all very obvious, but I think it's good to state that, right? Then it says, Natyuchittam Nati Nicham. Chittam means what? High or low. Obviously, you don't want to sit on a high chair or some place or a bench or something where, you just wonder as you start meditating, your head goes down that you fall and trip down. Or sit too low that you feel uncomfortable sitting for a long time. After 5, 10 minutes, you feel like you want to move your leg around. That is also not right. So you're saying not too high, not too low. So obviously on the floor or on a table which is steady, which has got a backrest, whatever is required for a particular person to meditate. And then where should you sit? Always here, of course, those days, he's saying a cloth, a skin, a kushla grass, etc., etc. Right? Those skin, when he says we're talking about a dead animal skin, like a dead deer, etc. So these days it's not possible. So that's the reason we have a yoga mat or we have a dari, whatever it is that we can offer. But it has to be always, shielded from the ground. That means you have to be insulated. That's the reason these are given. So 11 stanza is very straightforward, very simple. Then, having sat there, then what should one do? See, he's not saying, this is what you should meditate on. Bhagavad Gita is not saying meditate on, Lord Vishnu's head, Lord Vishnu's toes, or Shiva's, what you call snake, etc. He's just saying, giving the rest of the detail. What is he saying? Point, single pointed. Single pointed here means what? That you just, your job is to simply drop everything. Single pointed here does not mean focusing on something. Meditation is about dropping things. It will lead to focus. It will lead to concentration. So, what were the three things that I was telling about Guruji has said about meditation? One is, I want nothing. I do nothing, which is I'm just simply effortlessly doing it. And I am nothing. I am nothing means what? At that point, you don't even have an identity about yourself. I might be a manager. I might be a teacher. I might be a doctor. All that is outside realms of things when you're in the office, or maybe, you're an uncle or a grandfather. Doesn't matter. When you're in meditation, all that identity is gone. I am nothing. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever the time might be. So it says, Tatraikagyan. So when the mind is manakritva, yata chittendriya kriyaha. Again is referring to mind and senses controlled. So here, what are the things that, why is he referring to, again, beating this up a lot? Because wherever we are not sitting in the Himalayas and doing this, right? We are sitting in our own home. So obviously there will be distractions. So to make sure that you're aware of those distractions, you do whatever best is possible to not have them. Still they'll come. So, just become aware, and next time when you do it, just stay away from those distractions. That is what that's what is being advised here. Then he says, once upavishyasane yujya yogam atma vishuddhaye. Then you practice this yoga. Here, when he says yoga, he's talking about yoga of meditation. Because this chapter is about dhyana. So whenever in Bhagavad Gita a word yoga is used in a particular chapter, most often than not, it is referring to the theme of the chapter as the yoga. So the same yoga in Karma Yoga would have been actions. Here, when he says yoga, it is meditation. It is not asana. It is not karma yoga. And why is he saying practice yoga? Atma Vishuddha, it is for purification of yourself. It is to get peace into yourself. Then, then he goes on to the 13th stanza, which goes one step in terms of the other thing. He says here, samam kaya shirogrivam. Body is firm. That means what? You're not sitting with your back back is straight. However, you either you keep it that way or you sit on keep your back rest on a place which is firm. However, it is done. Most often, we are advised to sit in normal Sukhasana. There are some people who do meditation even in Vajrasana. May not be comfortable for many to sit in Vajrasana for such a long time comfortably. So here, whatever is required for you to keep your body, firm, head and head and neck also erect and still. The word still is important. It's not like wobbly. The body might shake, might move a little bit during meditation, but to start with. And then he gives one very sampreksha nasikagram swam. That means putting your attention of your eyes at the tip of the nose. Now this is a wonder, right? Why is he saying this particular aspect was also covered in one of the last stanzas in fifth chapter because that was a prelude to sixth, right? So whenever you put your eyes, so what is it that we are trying to do when we say put your eyes, your attention of your eyes on the tip of your nose? The whole intent in meditation is what? Is to first go within. So, and for me to go within, I have to be away from the distractions that are there. And distractions can come from left, right, up and down, everywhere, right? So, one of the techniques that is always advised in Patanjali Yoga Sutra and all of them is a word called dharana. Dharana means focusing on some point in the space, right? And here, right, focusing on the tip of the nose is not to be done constantly for the next 15-20 minutes. You focus so that you take your mind to a point where your mind is now on the tip of your nose. Mind is not on the things that surrounding you. So you're away from the distractions. That is all that is being done. So when you close your eyes, also mind can get distracted because it is thinking about thoughts. When you open your eyes, it can also get distracted. Tip of the nose is one mechanism through which you're able to pull your mind to a point within your own body, at least for that period of time. And then after that, you drop it. There's no strain. Otherwise, if you keep your, Guruji says, if you keep your, eyes on the thing, you'll have a squint eye after some time. So here, for your eyes not to be looking here and there, or your thoughts to be swayed here and there, the eyelids are given. And one of the things scientifically, it's also proven that when you put your attention on the eyelids or on the tip of your nose, whatever, right? Then the pituitary gland inside your brain gets activated, hormones get activated. So that is one of the other reasons why it is suggested. Then move on to the 14th verse. Yunjannevam sadatmanam yogi niyata manasaha. So here, and then the word here, shantam nirvana paramam. Sorry, I should have been on 14th. I went to the next one. Prashantatma vigata bihi brahmacharine datasthitaha. I want to go into the word brahmacharinaha. He says, be in the mental state of a brahmachari. So normally brahmachari is referred to, is a state in our Gurukul system. Brahmachari is considered where you understand discipline, you understand responsibility. It's also establishing a vow of moderation, celibacy. So here we are not talking about celibacy. We are talking about moderation. We are talking about making sure that your energy, your focus is in one particular area. You're here for a higher purpose. And therefore, to limit your sensory activities or enjoyments to a lesser extent so that you can put your effort for a higher cause. Right? Now, whether it is through devotion, it is through chanting, it is through sadhanas, however that might be. So living a life of discipline, living a life of responsibility, simplicity in life, all of those are part of brahmachari. So he's telling all of us also, we may not be brahmachari, we are all grihasthas. At the same time, understanding those aspects of it, right? What is it? You can simply relate to it. It is being simple, right? Being disciplined, being regular in the practice, things that were talked about earlier, right? Those are the things he's referring here. Vigata bihi. What is vigata bihi? Vigata bihi means free of, you know, fear and anxiety. So fear and anxiety are part and parcel of everyone's life. Some botheration is there about something that's coming here. The more you know, at least for the duration there, you drop those things, or even if those thoughts come to come out of it. So here, let not the anxiety of, that come in. The other thing that can also happen is the fear or the anxiety of the meditation itself going well. I've had people when they take the initial courses in art of living. I don't think I can keep my eyes closed for so long. I don't think I can meditate. Not possible for me, right? My mind goes all over the place. I'm restless. I'm always worried about things. So this anxiety, whether I can meditate itself is an anxiety, and then can I sit for even 5, 10 minutes? I'm not sure. 15 minutes, forget it. I can't do it. So the anxiety can come from the aspect of meditation or can come from the aspects of other aspects of your life that come in the way of a meditator. The other thing about brahmachari is what brahmachari is also somebody who's very devoted to the guru. The guru is everything for him or her. Right? Whatever the guru says, he will do. Okay. So prashanta vikatabihi brahmacharine stitaha. Right? And then manas samyamya machittaha. Machittaha means what? Somebody whose mind is on me. Now you might say, what is this mind on me? That means at least, let's even go one bit before this, right? Having first that there is an interest to meditate, right? You need first that, right? Some motivation, right? Somebody has to say why you should meditate. Just keep your eyes closed mechanically, 15 minutes, do nothing, thoughts come and go, and then I open my eyes. Have you meditated? That is not meditation. It is with a certain devotion. It's with a certain connection. And if you realize, right, why this meditation, right, you look back at those of us who have read uh, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, right, Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga, the seventh part of the thing is meditation, dhyana. And the eighth one is samadhi. But all the things prior to it, right, pranayama, right, asanas, and other things all come prior to it. So to that extent, the person who's come to the seventh state has already gone through some cleansing. If you have done asanas regularly, if you've been doing pranayama regularly, obviously you've gone through some cleansing yourself. Only then you can sit decently and have a good meditative experience. So here he's talking about some aspects of that meditation here. One is, some connection where when you meditate, your mind is automatically engrossed in that meditation. You're not wondering what am I doing here? What am I doing here? There is a sense of that this is worth it. This is good for me. It is necessary for me. The pursuit of higher knowing yourself, right? That's the reason I'm doing this meditation. For me to be in the spiritual path, I need to meditate. These things are all integral in you. There's no doubt about it. So therefore, unless one's heart and mind are in the meditation, it will not work. Heart means what? Somewhere at an emotional level, somewhere at a devotional level, I'm connected for why I should meditate. Machittaha yukta asita matparaha. Matparaha means what? That I, for you, for the meditator, I am the supreme goal. There is a goal, right? The goal is to reach him, is to have be liberated, is to be in a blissful state for a longer time. Whatever you look at that goal as, ultimately it is to be in the space with him, union. So, so if you see here in all of this, right, and those of us who are meditators will understand that when we all started, right, then then we go from a state of where the mind is a bit agitated, it's all over the place, right? Not able to sit constantly for a long time, body is restless, and then slowly and slowly, right? You so you go first from a rajasic state where your body is all moving, then you get into a little bit of a tamasic state where there's a bit of lethargy coming in because you're sitting there for a long time. You may sleep, doze off. You're not meditating. And slowly and steadily, the meditation is happening, right? You start realizing that, yeah, for some period of time, I felt good. Thought starts reducing. So the sattva aspect starts coming in. So normally, for beginners, the rajasic quality pops up a lot more than the tamasic, and slowly and steadily, the sattvic aspect comes here. So here, whenever we are referring to all these answers, it's the sattvic aspect that is being referred to a lot. It is not that one can get rid of tamasic and rajasic aspect, but the lesser it is, the more one can meditate. Because if one is rajasic, you cannot sit for 5 minutes. Your body wants to move, your leg wants to move, your eyes cannot be closed, right? So all of this, once we do sattvic, then slowly the thoughtlessness, being in a deep meditation, getting to some period of time where you feel thoughtlessness, all of it starts coming. Okay. Now, 15th stanza. We'll stand this. Yunjannevam sadatmanam yogi niyatamaнаsaha shantim nirvana paramam matsamstamadhigacchati. Here, Krishna is saying what a person. Here he says yogi. So the word yogi here means any one of us. All of us are yogis. Anybody who's in the spiritual path, who's doing meditation, is a yogi here. Yogi is not a stamp. It has to be this and this and this, etc. So here he's just saying that a person who is established firmly in this manner, right? Whose mind is balanced, his mind is controlled, etc. Leads takes his mind to a place where there is thoughtlessness. Mind feels emptier. Mind feels calmer. When the thoughts are not there, you're much more calmer. Peace is there. There's always the thoughts that come. It could be even some random high, very beautiful thoughts or some good things. That also takes you somewhere. You get, over agitated. Or it could be that, negative thoughts come and takes you in another direction. But if I am devoid of thoughts, at least for a period of time, few seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, right? That is when, one has at least touched the tip of the deep meditative state. That is what he's referring to here. He says he attains the peace, and that peace, he's saying, is abiding in me. That means what? It is said in one of the samadhi states. There are multiple samadhis. Is there in Patanjali Yoga Sutta, but one of the one of the states, thoughtlessness as they call it, is called as Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is just a state where you're thoughtless. No thoughts are coming. And what is liberation here when he says my nature? My nature means what? The divine nature. No, serene, totally, centered. That is what he's referring to here. So here, um, is therefore he's touching upon some of the benefits. Now he'll touch upon the benefits also in the later stanzas, but he's telling us upfront that these are the things you will start experiencing, provided you take care of the things that I touched upon in the previous stanzas, be it the physical requirements, mental requirements, asana, this, that, etc., etc. So now the 16th stanza. Nan नात्यस्तु योगोऽस्ति न चैकान्तमनश्नतः न चाति स्वप्नशीलस्य जागृतो नैव चार्जुन. So here this one, and then I maybe I'll also chant this next one because it's got similar meaning. युक्ताहारविहारस्य युक्तचेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्तस्वप्नावबोधस्य yogo bhavati dukkha. So here he gives some other prerequisites. You can call it as prerequisites or care-abouts for a meditator. And this applies to even normal life. What is the first thing he's saying? Natyashnatastu yogosti chaikanta manashnataha. Person, he says clearly, this meditation is not possible for somebody who eats too much, nor for a person who does not eat at all. Let's say a person says, I want to meditate and I want to follow all austerity practices. I'm going to fast and I'll meditate. Good idea, but very difficult because your stomach starts growling as you close your eyes. Thought of, some smell somewhere, when am I going to get to eat, that comes in. All kinds of distractions come in. So if you see the key word that he's referring to is moderation. So not overeat, because if you overeat, you'll sleep. You don't eat, you'll get distracted where thoughts about food start coming in. And then also, nachati swapnashilasya jagrato means being awake. Swapnashilasya means being sleeping, oversleeping, or for a person who's sleeping too much, or a person who's always awake. Very obvious, these, right? We know it all. But somebody has to still tell us 100 times. It's like when you go to the doctor has to say, don't eat it, don't eat, don't eat. You know it well, but somebody has to remind you. Like that. Here also Krishna is just reminding us. And this is for even normal health. This is suggested by any doctor. So here the spiritual doctor called Krishna, Lord Krishna, is also telling us the same thing. Even for meditation, the same rule of thumb applies. Don't eat, be in moderation with respect to food and sleep. For that matter, even one can take even activity, etc., etc., right? But these are two important things because if you don't sleep, again, you'll fall sleepy when you sit for meditation, right? We see people when they come for a course early morning at 6 o'clock and they have not slept well, they are not sitting in the class. Their eyes are closed, the mind is somewhere else, the eyes are going here and there. So your alertness is gone, awareness is gone when you don't sleep well. Same thing happens even for a person who oversleeps. Less awareness, less ability to meditate well, all of this. Even simple pranayama itself becomes difficult for such a person who either eats too much or sleeps too much or vice versa. And then the 17th stanza along the similar lines, he says, if you are moderate, yukta cheshtasya karmasu. If you are moderate in eating and in recreation. So here he didn't use the word sleep, but we can add the sleep also here. Recreation. Recreation here means just going for a huge picnic somewhere. Morning till night, doing something or the other recreation. Being moderate in that. So here, when we say moderation, recreation, what does it really tell? We have to understand it from a Vedantic languages, not over exerting your sense organs because it is just saturated. Here I listen to some loud music. There I, ran, I was in a, what do you call that, wheel kind of a thing in a park. So my legs are tired, my ears and everything is super tired because it's been exhausted, been overused. A person who's moderate, that means he is using it diligently. Yukta hara vihar, yukta chestas, the person. Then it is viharasya. That means a person who's being moderate in these things. For him, yoga can be this yoga of meditation can be the destroyer of pain. What is destroyer of pain here means? Pain here not in a physical sense, pain in the mental state. Pain here means peaceful. So again, if you see the stanza, you have to understand that this is don't go to extremities in anything in your life. Be it sleep, be it food, be it recreation, using your sense organs, right? Food, we all know, right? Don't overeat sweets, don't eat this, don't eat that, etc. Be in moderation. Very simple. So here, moderation is the key, which is building on the previous stanza. Um, and also wakefulness. Wakefulness is means what again similarly, less sleep. So here he's referring to the fact that even somebody, you see today's generation people, I'm working super, I can't sleep before 1 o'clock in the morning. And they have to get up at 6 in the morning, barely get sleep for 5 hours. And they know how effective they can work the next day. And if your normal day action itself gets limited, because of lack of this, that, think of some, very deep process called meditation, right? It will not work. So that is the message on this one. Okay, let's go to the 17th stanza. Yukta haraviha. Okay, I already did 17th. Sorry. 18th one. Yada viniyatam chittam atmanye vapatishtate nispृहः सर्वकामेभ्यो yukta ityuchyate tada. So here, yeah, talking about which I forgot to mention. Okay, the Guruji had mentioned this in one of the things. Lord Buddha, when he came out of his house and he wanted, of course, he had a very high goal for himself. It is said that initially he would, you know, do things to his body because for him, he said his body is just a temporary mechanism. I want to go. So he would torture his body. He would starve himself. He would just physically do things, etc. Right? Push the limits of his body, of his internal organs. And so what would happen after some time? What happened after some time? That he couldn't even sit. If he sat, he would fall off. Sorry for Lord Buddha. And he was just wondering what was happening. Then, as it was happening, it is said that Lord Buddha heard a musician and a student discussing, and they were having a string instrument. They were trying to adjust something in the string instrument because it was not giving the required musical tone. And the teacher was trying to tell the student, when you when you adjust the string, make sure it is not too tight, nor should it be too loose, just right. Now, what is that? That just was a ringing bell for Lord Buddha. Not too tight, not too light, not too loose. That means what? Moderation. moderation in life. So he realized it. He quickly goes to a nearby lake, freshens himself up, comes, and he had been starving. It is said that, when you are in the higher path, things come to you. You don't have to do anything. Where does the food come from? He noticed the lady is coming, right? She wanted to share. Food comes to him. He broke the fast after several days of not eating anything. And after that, once he understood what, how he should be living the life as a meditator. He went into deep meditation, and it is said that he became liberated under the Bodha tree. This is the background of what Lord Buddha went through. And Lord Buddha, as a realized soul, how he got there. This is an example that Guruji gave, even for all of us to realize. Don't try to mix too many things into this whole thing, austerity practice. This I should do. This I should, follow, etc. This thing about this musical instrument should, string with us, right? Musical, especially if you take a violin or a veena or a guitar, etc. Right? There is always the string has to be taut right. If you pull it too tight, you will not get the correct thing. Similarly, when it's loose, it will be wobbly. You'll not get it. So just right. So so here that's the so here and then one other thing that China in his whenever he used to talk about meditation, he referred to Lord China as one of the senior most swamis in Art of Living. He referred to meditation as nididhyasana. Nididhyasana means what? Contemplating. The meditation is also referred to as contemplation. It's contemplation on yourself. You know, that means what? As you get into dhyana, you start realizing who you are as a person, the thoughts that come, the impressions because of which the thoughts come. You start realizing who you are. For some people, it might be certain types of thoughts come. You either, you're a CEO of a company. I should plan this, I should plan that, etc. All those thoughts start coming. So, so here, knowing more about yourself also is an aspect that comes under meditation. So, so when knowing, so there are other people, other schools of on meditation where they say, meditate on, let's say, Mahavishnu. And if you, those of us who chant Vishnu Sahasranam, right, we say Shantakaram, Bhujikashayanam, Padmanabham, Suresham, or we say Vanamali, Gadi, Shanti, Shanti, Chakri. It talks about the attributes of Mahavishnu. Shantakaram, right? The person who has got a serene appearance, who's always in a meditative state, who's lying, in a peaceful state on the serpent, Adishesha, right? And he's pervading the entire universe, right? And he's bluish in color. All those aspects are all covered in that one particular shloka, right? So for someone who's able to contemplate on that posture of Mahavishnu, on that state he's in, and that he's all pervading, is also another aspect of meditation that Chayan was referring to, which I thought was very interesting. So there are some who meditate like that. There's some people who meditate on Lord Shiva's Nandi or Lord Shiva's, meditative state, his own meditative state. So, and so here one thing that one has to remember is that when we go back to the tip of the nose thing, right? is to get the attention to yourself, to something within yourself. So the other aspect of meditation that we have to remember is one has to be in a good health, right? Decent health to even be able to sit. It's given, right? One can of course meditate when you're not feeling well, etc. But you have to make sure that if your mind is weak, it doesn't come work out well. If you're able to handle the mind despite not being feeling well and sitting for meditation, nothing like it. But it should make sure that you're not feeling well, that you can't even do pranayama properly, that you can't even do if you're having breathing difficulty, etc., then it's not very advisable to take up the meditation at that particular time. And what are the other aspects of it that if you see when we touched upon rajasic, tamasic, and sattvic aspects of it is touched upon in the 18th stanza. Right. One of them that is not referred to here is the type of food that one has to take to have a good meditation. You and I know that a sattvic ahara is where there is the least influence of things that either puts you to sleep or makes you restless. Right? Sattvic ahara is something that is light, that right ingredients that keeps your mind centered to a large extent. You don't fall asleep, nor do you jump up and down. On the other hand, if I take certain types of foods that makes me restless, or take something very heavy that makes you dull, both of them are not the right means for meditation. In fact, this word rajasic, tamasic, and ahara is covered in one of the chapters later on, where the food and um, food mind connection is well established in that particular one. But yeah, food and mind go together, right? So, as you eat, so is your state of mind. So here, when we are talking about, since we are talking about mind, when you go into meditation, food also plays an important part. So that's the reason he's saying, longing, free from longing of objects. Nispriha sarva kamebhyo yukta ityuchyate ityuchyate tada. That means what, of desires, right? Whether it be food, whether it is objects, those also have to be paid attention to. It will come later on in the same chapter that once you start meditating, the desires start coming down. The level of contentment in life starts increasing. When the level of contentment starts increasing, obviously the desires are also taking a back seat in one's life. It is there, but it's not dominant. So, um, so here he's also talking about um, not longing for, certain types of desires, whatever they might be, right? So the thing here in all of this is, to also be aware of when do you meditate, even though it is not clearly said that here, you don't watch a beautiful, what you call a horrific program sitting on TV or on your phone and then say, now I'm going to meditate. Because you'll be bombarded with those impressions that you saw in the TV, impressions with whatever was happening, good or bad, but it comes and bothers you. So like any aspect of yoga or like any aspect of, yoga, which is meditation, it's all the more important that you do it at a time when the least amount of distractions have come. First thing in the morning, right? When you're on, your mind is still afresh. All the things that come over a period of a day have not bombarded you, etc. And the other aspect of it that also comes in here when we talk about um, the tip of the nose thing, you pay the attention on the tip of the nose and then you drop it, you let go. So when we talk about the word effortlessness, it means what? Even if a thought comes, let it come, let it go. Another thought comes, it will come, let it go. So it is one of those things where, you know, iteratively something keeps coming, but I'm aware of the fact that it's happening, but I don't get caught up on it. And slowly and steadily, the thoughtlessness starts increasing in one's meditative practice. That is what he's referring to. The other aspect of meditation that China referred to, and I think we all aware of it, right, is this. It's like any sadhana practice. See, if I did if I did a practice today, right, and I get a particular experience, whatever that experience might be, good or bad. Somewhere when I do the same thing tomorrow, you say, today should be better than yesterday. Or if it was bad, I hope I don't get the same bad experience. So what are you doing? You're setting certain, intermediate expectations that this should be the result. And this is where the thought of I want nothing should be in place very clearly. It could be also the flip side. You know, I am, I've constantly been having last 30 days wonderful experience, and I think it should continue like this. For some reason, you don't get a good experience on that next day when you're doing it, despite having had good meditative experience all the previous days. That also is a botheration. That also is a problem because that impression gets carried forward, right? Then you wonder, okay, doubt comes in. Oh, will the next meditation be the same as today, or will it be like before? So one thing that comes in this thing that is very should be very clear to all of us. It's like any sadhana practice, meditation requires a lot of patience. It is now, thanks to a guru, thanks to all the techniques, one can have a very superlative experience very quickly. I'm not denying that. But we have to understand that, one has to be patient in this process because there will be ups and downs. Ups and downs are part and parcel of life. Right. And when ups and downs are there, part of love life, even when you meditate, that can have a ripple effect on it. So these are all certain things one is aware, one is from the external thing, and second is all these things I'm talking about from within yourself. It's got nothing to do with external distractions. It's your own internal impressions, etc., that come in the way. So then when I talked about, what you meditate on, I mentioned Lord Vishnu, Shantakara Mujika. That is referred to as meditation on a form. What most gurus, including Guruji, does is he makes us to meditate on the formless, which is referred to as nirguna. Saguna versus nirguna. Saguna is the form. I know a particular god, Ganesha. I meditate on Lord Ganesha, or I meditate on the formless. And if you see here, right, again, this is all at the end of the day, whichever way it is, the end goal is one of being in quietude, one of being in some state of peace. That's all there is. Now go to the 19th stanza. I think we'll probably close it here before going to time. We will continue in the next session from 19th stanza.